picked out the most Glossier girl outfit I possibly could because today's video is going to be a 5 best and 5 worst of none other than Glossier. It's actually 6 best and 4 worst, but we're calling it 5 best, 5 worst because that would be weird if we changed the title of the series. Glossier is one of my favorite brands. I do have a pretty hit and miss relationship with a lot of their products, but overall I really like the kind of natural beauty, like Glossier girl aesthetic that they have. And like usually when I like one of their products, I don't just like casually like it. It turns out to be like a big hit and becomes like a staple in my collection. When I don't like one of their products, it's not just like a casual dislike, it's usually like a wow, this bad. So today's video is going to be all over the place, but if you're new to this series, I've done it with Anastasia Beverly Hills, Fenty Beauty, and ColourPop, I believe. And today we're doing Glossier. I just go through a brand and name my 5 best and 5 worst products from that brand. This is a series inspired by Jamie Page, and now I'm doing it on my channel. So I'm wearing my dewiest possible look ever. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and without further ado, let's get dewy. Alright, we're going to start with the positives, the 5 best. I'm very selective with my positivity. I don't just like give out my valence electrons like that. So, none other than the Glossier Future Dew. This, I love her so much, but she's a complicated product that doesn't really, it's not super clear on what it's supposed to do. Basically, it's marketed as an oil serum hybrid. It's a very like glowy, liquidy serum type product. I know the founder of Glossier, Emily Weiss, says that she uses it as a part of her skincare routine, and Glossier themselves recommend using this as the last step in your skincare routine. So after doing like serum, moisturizer, sunscreen, you put this one on, and then you can do makeup if you want to, or if you are a Glossier girl and you just naturally have the skin of a baby, then I guess you could just wear this all over your face and be fine. I don't have that. I'm not wearing foundation today, but I am wearing this Glossier Future Dew all over my face, and then I have spot concealer on top of it. So if you are a mere mortal like me and you need to wear concealer, concealer can layer really nicely on top of this if you want to use it as kind of your all over, very dewy, glowy complexion product. I also tend to use this one as a glowy primer as well. This is beautiful as a primer because I feel like the glow really does shine through your foundation rather than you putting foundation on top of it and you can't really see the product underneath it. I still feel like the glow comes through. So I can use this one as primer, or today I'm wearing it as kind of like my all over complexion product with some spot concealer on top of it just where I need it. And I feel like this gives some nice hydration as well as a really beautiful glowy look. But this is a very multi-purpose product for me and I like using it in other applications. So for example, this is beautiful patted all over the high points of the face. Not like a shimmery like liquid highlighter type product. It's not going to give you like metallic shine. It's more so going to give you a wet, dewy glow. So if I'm not wearing base foundation, this like patted on top of my cheekbones gives me this really beautiful like wet cheekbone look. This is also really beautiful to make a powdery highlighter look a little bit more natural. So if I feel like my highlighter is looking a little bit too like icy and metallic and sitting on top of my skin, I like taking a little bit of Glossier Future Dew, just like maybe a quarter of a pump, and just like sharing it out on the back of my hand and then taking either my beauty sponge or a stippling brush and just lightly patting it on top of the powder highlighter, and it just melted into the skin really nicely. So this is a very multi-purpose product for me, and for $24 for the amount of things I can get with this product, it's just, I think it's a really great deal. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck out of this, and I really just enjoy having this in my collection. So whether you want to use it as like an all-over complexion product, a primer, or as I use it as like a kind of mixing medium and just multi-purpose product, I think this is something that's very fun to experiment with, and I really, really love this formula. So Glossier Future Dew, one of my favorites. Likely one of the most loved cult favorite products from Glossier, and rightfully so, are the Glossier Cloud Paints. I last year became like a convert to cream cheek products. They're my favorite finish by far. They give you the most natural and beautiful glowy result on your cheeks. Cream cheek products melt into your cheeks and give you like a natural blended look, so much more than most powder products ever could. So I truly am a huge fan of cream cheek products, but I feel like even if you didn't like cream cheek products, you would still really like the Glossier Cloud Paints. They're kind of that bridge gateway product. My 2 favorite shades are Dusk and Storm. I'm wearing both of these shades on my cheeks right now mixed, and I think that's like one of my favorite results for just a very natural flush. This is a really, really pigmented formula, so you really do not need a ton of product, and for that reason, because these are $18 and you can get so much use out of them, I feel like this is a very affordably priced product that goes a long way, and I can get a ton of use out of one tube. So you really just need the tiniest amount, like 1 dot, maybe 2 if you need. I feel like blush application is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Same with highlighter. You really want to tailor where you place your blush to the structure and shape of your face. So for me, because I have a more heart-shaped face, I like to focus my blush all over my cheek and bringing it up into my cheekbone as well. I also like to do just a tiny amount of neutral blush on the places where sun would naturally hit my face. So a little across my forehead, across my nose, and a little tiny bit on my chin. But this This is a lovely, lovely cream formula as long as you're not using it on top of powders. It doesn't really disrupt your foundation, and I also haven't had any problems with this wearing off throughout the day. Blush is usually the first thing that like starts to fade from my cheeks throughout the day, along with highlighter, and these are really, really long wearing and beautiful on the cheeks. So I would highly recommend the Glossier Cloud Paint formula, and if you want color recommendations, these two are my favorites. In addition to my favorite cream blushes, Glossier also makes my favorite cream highlighter. This is from the relatively new Glossier Play line. It's the Night Shine Highlighter Concentrate in the shade Pale Pearl. This I'm also wearing on my cheekbones right now, and it's like one of my favorite highlighters in my collection. I wore this to prom, I wear this on special occasions as well as on the everyday. I feel like it's just a really versatile, beautiful blinding glow, but do not be deceived, this is a really beautiful, intense blinding glow, but it's not aggressive or icy. I feel like a lot of so-called blinding highlighters can just look so unnatural on the cheekbones, but this one truly just melts into your cheekbones, so you look like you have like the sun beaming out of your face, but it looks natural. You get a tiny little doe-footed applicator, and I just like to do 1, 2, 3 little dots all around my orbital bone and just pat it in. But yeah, this is by far one of my favorite products from Glossier. Glossier's complexion products have been kind of hit and miss for me, but by far the biggest hit has been the Stretch Concealer. This is not necessarily going to be a product for everybody. I feel like Glossier's face products are definitely geared towards people who A, really like a dewy glow, and B, I feel like the formula, at least for this concealer, is definitely geared towards people who have like drier skin. This is a very hydrating concealer, so I really like this because most of the time for potted concealers I would expect them to be a bit of a drier, stiffer formula. At least that's my experience with potted concealers like this. This is such an interesting formula because you put it on and it doesn't really dry down that much, which doesn't sound appealing, but it just has this kind of sheen to it, whereas I feel like a lot of concealers, even ones that are supposed to be hydrating, still kind of dry down to a matte finish, and if you have really dry skin like me, that can emphasize like all the dry flakes and stuff that I don't want to be seen. This, because it has a little bit of like luminosity and just hydration to it, I feel like sits really nicely on the skin, especially on my under eyes. I have really dry under eyes during winter, so this sits really nicely on the under eyes. I can get away with doing just a tiny layer of this on my under eyes. I think the key with this product is to not layer it too much because it is like hydrating and it doesn't necessarily set down all the way, so if you use too much product it's going to crease and cake up. But like a nice thin layer of this really nice hydrated concealer I feel like can just look so naturally beautiful on the skin. And over the past year I've just been trying to find products that make my skin look like I'm wearing no foundation when I definitely am, and this is one of those products that I feel like can look undetectable if you use it correctly. Another hit for me from the complexion line is the Glossier Wowder, and this is a product that I feel like, unlike the Stretch Concealer, is going to work for a broader expanse of people. I feel like you will love this if you have dry skin like me. Hard to find a powder that I love, but this I love. Or even if you don't have dry skin, I feel like you'll still really enjoy this. I am in the shade Light Medium. It's a tinted powder, very light coverage, so it doesn't really cake up a lot. It's one of the few setting powders that I have that lets my skin still look dewy even though it's set down, and that's really, really hard to find. It honestly kind of reminds me in finish of the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder, which is my favorite powder, but this is a lot less expensive. I feel like this does a nice job of smoothing out my skin, which is primarily what I would use powder for. If I was wearing like a nice luminous dewy foundation, it doesn't take away that beautiful finish of the foundation. I use this a lot when it's a little bit hotter in California, even though like my oil glands do not produce anything. And I guess it is mid-April, so it makes sense that it's getting like hotter here, but it just like randomly went 20 degrees hotter than it's been for the entirety of winter. So that was interesting, and I'm definitely going to be breaking this out a lot more. And then my last favorite, I feel like this is just a universally loved product, but the Glossier balm.com. My favorite flavor is the birthday balm.com. I know the mango one is really good as well. It's just a lovely lip balm. I'm really picky with my lip balms, and this, while I don't think the formula is necessarily super special, I just love this. It tastes delicious. The birthday one does have a tiny bit of glitter in there. I actually sometimes like using this as a lip gloss. So if I want a little bit of extra gloss and hydration on top of my lipsticks, I can just pat a tiny bit of this on, and because there's a little bit of shimmer in here, I feel like it looks like I'm wearing a lip gloss, but I'm really just hydrating my lips a little bit more. This is a more thick occlusive lip balm, so the only thing I would say is if you tend to get breakouts on your chin, you might want to just be a little bit careful with this one and make sure you're not like letting it transfer onto your chin, because I feel like this can sometimes clog my pores if I I am like talking too much. I don't know what my mouth does when I'm sleeping at night, but sometimes if I apply a little bit too much or like a really thick layer of this onto my lips at night, I'll wake up and I'll have a couple like breakouts on my chin just because it's oily and it gets down there. So if you are struggling with chin breakouts and you don't really know what's going on, you might want to take a look at your lip balm. But this is one of my favorite lip balms and something that I would definitely repurchase once it's done. Those are my 6 best of Glossier, and now for the 4 worst to round up the 10 products. I've tried almost everything from Glossier, and some of these products I just didn't like, just straight up the formula, but some of these just maybe weren't for me. And I think the one that wasn't really for me was the Glossier Lid Stars. These are like kind of a cream liquid eyeshadow, and I'm definitely somebody who does prefer using like eyeshadow palettes and powder products, and I like doing eye looks. I feel like the Glossier Lid Stars are definitely geared towards people who just want to have like a swipe it on and go. And while that's not necessarily the type of look I'd post on Instagram, that is the kind of thing I go for on a school day. Well, lately I have been gracing the people of my Zoom lectures with my bare face and sometimes pimple patches. But like when I'm going to in-person classes, when I do wear makeup to class, it's usually like something that I can put on in less than 20 minutes, and I either wear like a 1 eyeshadow or 2 eyeshadow look or no eyeshadow at all. So the Glossier Lid Stars are definitely geared towards student Julia, who you don't see as much on camera. And honestly, I just didn't really enjoy them. First of all, I felt like they were very muted. I know that that product isn't necessarily geared towards giving you like the most metallic, blinding, beautiful, like shimmery eyeshadow, but I felt like even with the shimmer ones, I would apply them, get a nice like slight subtle wash of shimmer, and then I would go and it would just be like gone from my eyelid a couple hours later. They faded really quickly in terms of pigmentation, whether I used primer or not, and I also felt like they did crease quite a bit, and I don't really have even the oiliest eyelids ever, so I didn't really understand why they weren't really holding up that well. I also, like, I don't work out with makeup on, so I wasn't sweating or anything. They just didn't really last that well on me, and then I don't know, I would rather just use like a ColourPop Super Shock or something I know is going to last a little bit longer and have that longevity and that quality. Next up, probably my least favorite thing I've tried from Glossier ever was the skin tint, or should I say like a mixture of water and oil with like a memory of pigmentation in it, because that's basically what it is. There is like straight up no coverage in this product. That's just like a heads up. It's a skin tint, so I really wasn't expecting like, you know, a foundation or anything. I was more so expecting something along the lines of like a tinted moisturizer. Not coverage by any means, but I wanted it to just like maybe even out my redness a tiny bit, or just provide a slight amount of like unity between the different shades of my face, and she was not like that.
She's nothing of the sort.
What this did do was make my face look straight up oily. Dewy skin is my thing, but I felt like this skin tint really just made me look greasy almost. It wasn't like a flattering glow and luminosity, it was just like oily looking. And weirdly, I just felt like the stretch concealer also didn't play super well with it, so the skin tint was something that I decluttered very quickly. I used it maybe like 2 to 3 times and realized like, yeah, this is just, it's not gonna work out for me. I feel like if I was going to go for that little coverage, I would just not wear foundation. So that's kind of what I do now. I just use the Future Dew and then stretch concealer on top if I want to go for a no foundation Glossier look. I'm not going to go into the effort of basically putting on something with like next to no coverage if it's not going to make my skin look better. Glossier is a brand that has skincare as well as their makeup, and while most of the time I don't like skincare lines from makeup brands, I feel like it makes sense for Glossier, and I do feel like they do try with their formulations, whereas a lot of makeup brands, when they come out with skincare lines, it's just obviously a cash grab. I've tried a couple of Glossier skincare products, and I gotta say, I'm not super impressed. In particular, I want to talk about their serums. They have a niacinamide serum and a hydrating serum, and both of these I felt like didn't really do the most, especially for the amount of money. Granted, they were not the most expensive skincare products, but they also weren't the most affordable. Glossier really does stay in the kind of realm of like mid pricing, so like $20 and up is kind of Glossier's thing. The hydrating serum in particular I felt like was really basic. You can get a good hyaluronic acid serum from The Ordinary for like less than $10. Same with the niacinamide. My favorite niacinamide serum is from The Ordinary. It's the niacinamide 10% and zinc 1%. Overall, I love Glossier's focus on ingredients. I think they're getting that right, and I would love to see them do some more innovative formulations, but I feel like those 2 serums I tried out were just pretty basic, to be honest. Alright, and then last and kind of least, the Glossier lip glosses are not that good. Like, honestly, I feel like Glossier is pretty well known for their lip glosses. I've tried the clear one. It's in like the most basic packaging ever. It's just like a straight up clear lip gloss. And while I love the clear lip gloss aesthetic that they're going for, I also don't feel like that formula is really anything special. If anything, it's like kind of subpar. On the high-end side, I feel like Fenty's lip gloss bomb formula is a lot better. And then on the low-end side, ColourPop's new Luxe lip glosses are really, really beautiful. I love the Luxe lip gloss formula. And then one of my favorite lip glosses for $1 are the AOA Studio Fruity Pop glosses. These are clear, fruit-flavored glosses in a squeezy tube. I don't think you need to spend a ton of money on the Glossier lip gloss. You're also getting like almost no product in there, and I reapply lip gloss fairly frequently when I am wearing it, so I think I would go through that really quickly. It's also kind of sticky, just very, very basic formula, so I don't feel like it's really worth the hype or the money, but that's just my opinion. I know some people absolutely love the Glossier lip gloss, and more power to you if you are one of those. Alright guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed my 5 best and 5 worst of Glossier, even though it wasn't really 5 best and 5 worst. Please let me know what brand you'd like to see next in this series. I really hope you guys enjoyed this little episode. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you've tried from Glossier that you really enjoy, if I missed anything that you love from Glossier. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and if you made it to the very end of this video, you get the bonus meme. Stay glossy. Bye. Hey baby, have you tried Glossier before? Oh, you haven't? Oh yeah, I know we don't know each other. I know I'm just approaching you in a grocery store, but I feel like you would just really appreciate the wisdom that my dewy skin has to offer. And scene, there you go, that was my impression of a Glossier girl.